Now, I'm not quite as far behind on Arrow as I was on The Flash, but again, the fact that I'm getting to this episode one night before the next episode airs doesn't really say a whole lot for my sense of urgency. But I digress. This episode of Arrow, Al Sah-Him, basically detailed Oliver's first days, or at least first days leading the League of Assassins. He's not full on Ra's al Ghul yet. He's not the demon's head yet, but he's being trained. He's being sent out on missions. He's Ra's al Ghul is confiding in him. He's basically taking orders without question. And from what we've seen in his training, he's willing to kill those close to him. So, for all intents and purposes, Oliver Queen is gone. I mean, they brainwashed him, and he's now fully Al Sah-Him, a member of the League of Shadows. And basically, what Ra's al Ghul does is he sends him on a mission back to Starling City to get Nyssa. Nyssa is there with Laurel, trying to act like a quote unquote normal person. She's eating fries. She's drinking milkshakes because what else is she gonna do? She doesn't really have a purpose as of yet, since her position was sort of given away to Oliver. So she's just kind of hanging around with Laurel, training her, blah blah blah. And meanwhile, the guys over at Team Arrow are still trying to fight the good fight. They're still trying to round up criminals. But Oliver is sent back to Starling City to capture Nyssa and bring her back to her father, so that he can take his rightful place as the demon's head without a rival. And when Team Arrow hears about this, they're very reluctant to believe that Oliver would actually go to these means, would actually kill people, would actually be this demon's head that for all intents and purposes he should be at this point, because they don't want to believe that Ra's al Ghul broke him. So that about sets the stage for the episode, and this was another really, really strong episode. And the thing I've noticed about season 3 of Arrow, and you'll see this in the review I'm currently working on, it's been very overstuffed with what I feel are unnecessary characters, plot threads. They seem to be really, really sacrificing the quality of Arrow as sort of a character study on Oliver Queen for the sake of building this larger TV universe with these DC characters. And if you don't believe me, just look at how many characters are getting their own show, not shows, because Adam, the Atom is getting his own show, Captain Cold, Firestorm, and Katie Lotz. Not to mention, they introduced Wildcat earlier. They've introduced Katana, Tatsu. And at the same time, you have all these other costume guys going out with Oliver at night, Black Canary and Arsenal. So I was actually against season 3 around the midpoint, but now that it's actually back on track, back focusing mainly on Oliver, then I'm actually back on board, honestly. And this episode really exemplified how good this show can be when it actually focuses on where it should. And I'm not saying that you can't branch out, but again, I think this show really is at its best when it's focusing on the struggle with Oliver and the ramifications on the people closest to him. Not the millions of people closest to him, just the few people closest to him. So on that note, a lot of the drama in this episode worked very well. It was very fascinating seeing, Oliver's friends, Diggle, Felicity, his closest allies, even Laurel, really, really struggle with whether or not, can we really fight him? Is this really him doing this? Would he do this? I mean, why is he back in the city? Would he really kill Nyssa al Ghul? Should we turn Nyssa over to him because Oliver kidnaps Diggle's wife later in the episode, and all this stuff, all of these moral dilemmas that they're dealing with, was not only providing some ample opportunities for some really good performances, particularly from David Ramsey, but in addition, again, some really good drama, really good character moments. So and and by that I mean moments that really tested their devotion to Oliver. And and Diggle actually says at one point, I've heard stories of soldiers captured by the enemy, and they're broken and blah blah blah. So again, bringing his past experience into the present day is where Diggle really works the best. And in addition, the stuff involving Katrina Law as Nissa Al Ghul was also pretty good. She was again having really to come to terms with what she feels is her destiny, because she's like, I'm the daughter of the demon. Happiness was never really meant for me. And she actually makes a decision to face Oliver, or Al Sah-Him as he's now known, face her destiny and fight him. So her having acknowledged how the past 3 weeks have made her extremely happy, and how she's really having to let go of that now, nothing good lasts forever. Again, really, really strong moments. And even some of the stuff involving the League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul really confiding in Oliver like he's never really done before. He really sees him as not only an ally and an apprentice, but also sort of a confidant, or at least that's how it seems. Again, Matt Nable's Ra's al Ghul never really plays all of his cards at once. You really do get the sense that he's hiding something. Okay, so again, a lot of stuff worked in this episode. What didn't work, well, obviously Laurel. Obviously, although I did smile a little bit when she did the canary cry, because she actually used what Cisco gave her in the Flash episode to sort of emit this canary cry. She has this choker that allows her to do the canary sonic thing when she screams. So she does that to stop Oliver from killing Nissa. But so from a fanboy perspective, and from what she actually did, I liked that moment. But again, in terms of her character, I still don't like her. I mean, she's just a moron. But again, what didn't work, I think, nearly as well as it should, was the actual brainwashing process. Because really, the extent that we see Oliver getting brainwashed is a very short montage at the beginning where we see him get thrown in this cell, being woken up by water, going through training, blah blah blah. Very short montage, and then it cuts to him walking with Ra's al Ghul, and Ra's al Ghul says, you've come a long way in these past 3 weeks. Oliver Queen's no more, blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, that's it? That's all it takes? And I really think that it would have been much more effective if they had devoted an entire episode to the brainwashing. Not only would that have been more convincing in terms of, making us believe that Oliver has been broken, but in addition, it would have made it much more effective when his friends were trying to get through to him, because we would have known what he went through. Now, with just this quick montage, it's very rushed, very rapid fire, and I don't really think it resonates nearly as strongly as it could have. And sorry to use sort of an obvious example, but I really think it's sort of the same case with Theon Greyjoy from Game of Thrones. In Game of Thrones, when Theon Greyjoy got captured by Ramsay and he was tortured, they spent the entire season torturing him pretty much. I think it was season 3, I think. Some fan will correct me. But the entirety of season 3, Theon spent getting tortured psychologically and physically by Ramsay, this sick little monkey, and by the time season 4 rolled around and we saw him reduced to this wreck, how, given all we saw him go through in season 3, again psychologically, emotionally, and physically, we believed and we understood why he could possibly be a very different person at the start of season 4. I mean, when he answered, with my name is Reek, there was real weight there, because again, we had actually seen it happen, and I'm not saying it has to go into the sort of torture porn territory, but again, something more than the short montage that they showed. So yeah, that's really the only major issue I have with this episode. For the most part, it was very focused. It didn't really bring in any unnecessary characters. There was no Ray. We didn't cut to see what Roy was doing in the other city that he was in, although Although maybe we could have gotten away with that. But there was no Wildcat. There were no other superfluous characters except for the only characters in this episode were those central to the story of this episode. So that was something I really liked. And of course, when it comes to Arrow and the Flash, you have to talk about the cliffhangers. Because the cliffhangers in these two shows are basically like the after credits, the mid and post credits scenes in Marvel movies. They bear talking about because some pretty big developments happen. So Nyssa gets captured by Oliver, taken back to Nanda Parbat, and basically Oliver is about to kill her, and Ra's al Ghul stops him, and he says, "Okay, that's I've seen enough. You've proven your loyalty to me. You've proven your willingness to take your place. Now, you will marry Nyssa. I want to unite our two families. I have a better idea. I will unite our two families." So Oliver now has to marry Nyssa, which he accepts. I mean, again, he really just takes orders without question in this one. And Nyssa is just beside herself. And really, really throughout most of the season, I've been saying, and some other people have been saying, Oliver should just join up with the League of Assassins and just, forget Laurel, forget all these other people who are obviously their own, who obviously should have their own show by now since we're devoting so much time to them. Oliver should just say, screw all of them, join up with the League of Assassins, and hook up with Nyssa Al Ghul. So now that's essentially what's happening to him. And on that note, I think, well, Katrina Law is the most attractive female on the show at this point, so I don't really feel all that sorry for Oliver because he honestly, I don't really think he has that much room to complain just from a looks perspective. I'm kidding. I am interested to see where this is going to go in the next episode, whether his friends are going to try and bust him out again. Probably. And yeah, very, very much looking forward to how season 3 is going to wrap up in the next 2 episodes, I think it is. So, yeah, until then.